This is the meditation on forgetting and remembering. And if you're following this meditation along with the training on the Yoga Sutras of Pantajali that I'm offering you, this meditation starts with Book 1, Sutra 4, but like many of these meditations, you can use them at any time. They're very useful. So before you begin the meditation, as I always say, make sure you're in a quiet place where you will not be interrupted and have something to write with afterwards if you need to make notes when the meditation is completed. So we begin by remembering who you really are. You are the self. The spiritual self, what I also call the peaceful self. No matter how you appear, whether it's a butterfly or the caterpillar, in essence, you are that self. You are that light within. And in previous meditations, we have looked at all the different things that you may identify with, but you are not these things. You may have these problems, difficulties, mental thoughts, emotions, physical ways of being, but you are not these things. You are the self, the light within, the peaceful self. And just take a moment to get a deep sense of that. There's a word for that self, the Om, the universal sound. When you are radiant, you are more fully that self. Just remember the times that you have radiated that inner sense of joy, that inner sense of peace and love and wisdom and spiritual power. When you are in this space, you are more fully the self that you always are, but may forget. All spiritual practice is actually designed to help you be the self that you are. The Om, the universal sound, identified with all that is. But numerous things cause us to contract and forget the self we are. Numerous things in life have caused you at times to forget the self that you are. These things can include traumatic life events. Trauma can actually jar your nervous system and cause a feeling of collapse, where you cut yourself off from that self because you're so absorbed with the trauma. Limited opportunities can likewise cause you to forget the self that you are, because you identify with those limitations instead of with the infinite expanse of your true identity as the peaceful self. Difficult people can come into your life and cause you to forget the self you are. And so can tough circumstances. Life is full of these challenges. These challenges can be opportunities to remember who you are as the self and to bring that remembrance into presencing that self in all situations. That's the opportunity. But too often, we forget who we are, and that opportunity disappears. We shrink back, and we become, as we forget that true self, mentally confused. We simply don't know who we are. We don't know how to handle our lives. We don't see clearly the people around us. Mentally confused. We can also become emotionally reactive. We start to identify with various emotions of anger or fear or guilt or confusion at an emotional level in terms of becoming unstable or inactive or like a deer in the headlights, not knowing how to react in a constructive way. We're not proactive, we are reactive. This can cause energetic depletion, where we lose the very vitality within ourselves and even the energy within our vital etheric bodies. And this can then cause physical debilitation, where we then start to identify with our physical disabilities instead of understanding that they do not represent at all who we really are as the self. We become limited mentally, emotionally, energetically, and physically, instead of realizing that any of these limitations are not truly who we are, the self within. As you remember then that you are not these limited thoughts or this mental confusion, you change. Mental confusion turns into clarity, wisdom, positivity. This is the advantage of remembering the peaceful self. You lift yourself out of the mental confusion and reclaim the clarity, wisdom, and positivity, to name just a few mental states. As you remember you're not your emotional reactions, that emotional reactivity turns into calm, a peaceful way of being in the world, and a confident way of being in the world. No matter what you are faced with, you are better able to stay within that center, that peaceful center, and to direct your emotions effectively so that they produce positive change in your environment and in the ways of other people handling their emotions as well. You are able to become an agent of positive, healing, calming change in the environment of those around you. You are the self, the peaceful self, and emotionally reactive no more. And when you don't identify with any energy depletion you may be suffering, and at times you may feel that, but if you don't identify with it, you can reclaim vitality. You can be vital once more. You can be radiant once more and more joyful. So by not identifying with the energy depletion, even though you have it, you lift yourself out. You remember you are the self, the peaceful self, and you redirect that energetic depletion into something vital, radiant, and joyful. And finally, as you detach from any physical difficulties you may be having, either in your physical body or your physical world, as you no longer identify with being physically debilitated, you start to discover the ways that you can be healthy, strong, and stable, both within your body and within your physical world. You are the self, the peaceful self, and you direct that physical debility to not truly impact your life in a negative way, but rather through that debility, you either heal it or you are able to be strong and stable within it so that you remain abiding in the self, the peaceful self that you are. This is your true identity, the light within, no matter what mental, emotional, vital, or physical difficulties or challenges you face. As you remember that Om, as you remember that peaceful self, life will be full of challenges that can cause you to forget That is all right. We're not here to deny those challenges, to spiritually bypass those challenges. We're just simply here to remember that there will be cycles of remembering who we are and forgetting who we are. But the Yoga Sutras help you to remain the self and remember that you are that self, no matter what is going on around you.